It's a simple question. From a long-time iRacer's perspective, which is better? iRacing or Le Mans Ultimate? Which is better if you're starting now? Which is better for the aspects of sim racing that you value the most? In this video, I'll share my opinion. So I'm just going to cut straight to the point. I enjoy Le Mans Ultimate much more right now. Therefore, as it stands, I generally consider LMU to be the better place to start, and a strong alternative for GT and LMP fans that are currently embedded within iRacing like I was. I've been an iRacing member since 2010 with at least 1,000 race starts logged, and nothing has enticed me away from it until now. As of around May 2025, I picked up Le Mans Ultimate and have since chalked about 60 race starts. I've not yet taken part in any of the endurance special events, but I've monitored them with interest to see how well they ran. If that doesn't sound like I actually do a lot of racing, then you're absolutely right. Sim racing is my job nowadays, but that doesn't mean I spend a lot of time actually racing. The vast majority of my time is spent working, creating videos like this one that you're looking at, whilst balancing life's many demands. I'm 37, I've got a 3-year-old, a mortgage, a dog. Time is tight, and when time is tight, you tend to prefer spending it doing the things that hold a higher chance of being fun. And since integrated into LMU, I find myself opting for it over iRacing when I just want to enjoy the pursuit of sim racing. Races have generally felt more fun, engaging, forgiving, rewarding and exciting. I have experienced a great number of races that went firmly in the pile I call absolute belters. It's been excellent, and the fact that I don't have much time and yet choose mostly to spend it in LMU is a badge of honour. So let me outline what LMU does that enamors me so much as a long-time iRacing diehard, because a lot of you watching will be, and you'll want to know what was it that twisted my arm. First, let me pinpoint what led me to give LMU a try in the first place. I was not an early adopter of LMU. I actually gave it the cold shoulder for quite a long time. Then the iRacing hypercar battery saga blew open, whereby it was revealed that iRacing's implementation of hybrid power was so far off compared to LMU that it was kind of ridiculous. I'm not a hypercar super fan. This was not a hill that I'd ever die on, but it knocked iRacing off its pedestal for me and made me curious about LMU, enough to give it a serious try. Because I came in at a later date, I didn't spend long in LMU's early access phase, so I was not scarred by as much of the exposed sharp bits that other YouTube folk probably pushed themselves through back in 2024 when LMU was first playable. I haven't had to go back and see if X, Y and Z have been fixed, because I arrived after X, Y and Z were already fixed, so my sentiment of LMU is probably more positive than most because I only saw it once it had had a shower and got dressed, rather than rolling out of bed in its Y-fronts and odd socks. That misfortune will always go to the more news-based, on-the-pulse content creators. So let's talk about it. The driving, focusing on GT3s because they are such a major part of LMU, they are the staple, the bread in this whole sandwich. Pretty much all of them feel like they have far more character and depth to them than their iRacing equivalents, and an awful lot of that is grown from the tyres. LMU's tyres feel like they have a much bigger role to play than in iRacing, and that's because it's kinda true. The way LMU's cars squirm and scrabble around under high Gs does a great job of convincing me that this is a real car with real weight, real suspension, with real contact with the ground. By comparison, despite being fun and challenging in its own way, iRacing's vehicle dynamics do feel quite cleansed, sanitized and predictable. GT3s are busier and more challenging in LMU on the whole, and that prevents them from feeling boring. My time spent in hypercars has also been very fun, very addictive. The force feedback is also much more exciting and spirited overall. The first time you feel the violent snap, crackle and pop of your steering wheel when ABS intervenes, you realise the gaping hole that such a thing leaves in iRacing by not having it there. I've reviewed a lot of hardware using iRacing alone to benchmark it, but that ended with the onboarding of LMU. It now plays a major role in testing too. And if you have a high-end system, it will be given a far greater range to show off with in LMU than in iRacing. The underlying feedback language when it comes to tyre grip and weight transfer can take a little bit of getting used to, no denying it, but the reverse is also true when transitioning back to iRacing. They are both quite different in how they handle, and LMU can sometimes be vague when things are going wrong, but I find LMU's general handling more rewarding when things are going well, which is by far a bigger majority of how you spend your time, or at least it should be. The immersion is not limited to how things feel. The cockpit and trackside sounds for the GT3s and all cars in LMU are consistently impressive. This is a facet of iRacing that has always been a weak point for me. I can't always close my eyes in iRacing and believe it. And by comparison, I believe LMU. I think its audio is an under-discussed gold standard of sim racing audio immersion, more so than ACC ever was. It feels like the debate around Le Mans Ultimate is so heavily focused on its driving dynamics that the audio quality goes completely under the radar. It's brilliant, and if you've ever been trackside for real at a GT event, you will appreciate it. By comparison, iRacing's audio can feel pretty shallow and undynamic in general. It all adds up to make LMU more fun and electrifying as an experience. Especially once you get comfortable and in the groove, it feels like you really know the car that you've gravitated towards. So the act and experience of driving generally has more depth and texture to it, particularly in GT3s, but this also extends to fighting other cars because of a few vital gameplay choices. For one, the netcode and contact handling in LMU is superb and creates a sense of complete confidence in driving side by side with other respectful racers. For the longest time, I held iRacing up as the class leader when it comes to netcode and door-to-door racing action. But after a long period of online racing in LMU, I see how blind I've been. The confidence you have driving within microns of other cars here is very high. A major contributor to the quality of racing is the presence of a quality radar. I've been sim racing on a single ultra-wide screen for the past few years for content creation reasons. For me, it is vastly easier to race closely with others in LMU thanks to this radar. You can disagree with radars on the grounds of realism, fine, but the simple fact is that radars produce better and cleaner racing, and I think iRacing should consider implementing one as well. One of the biggest drivers behind my preference of LMU is simply the fact that I've experienced higher quality racing more often. There are some small but impactful environmental things, little choices LMU made that make it feel more lively. I love the presence of the flag boards around the track. It pays off tenfold when it comes to believability. It makes the track itself feel interactive and alive. Cars remain solid in the pit lane. Do not make the mistake of thinking that you can drive through other cars in the garages like you can in iRacing. You must pay attention, and this makes pit stops matter more. You might choose to stagger your stop to avoid heavy traffic in the busiest part of the pit window. Even a simple act of driving out of your garage at the very start of practice and qualifying is a cherry on top of the grand cake of immersion. iRacing restricts visibility of your tyre data. LMU gives it to you readily. Seeing your tyre data does not take away the challenge, it merely reduces the confusion and guesswork of not seeing it, and it helps you feel more connected and involved in your car's current state. It's a gameplay choice that has almost no downsides for the everyday player. Fuel levels are also transparent to you and your competitors, something which you would think is a downside for strategy, but in my experience has only served to add energy and strategy and tension to the racing, as it makes it clear who is being unusually economical and who is not. All of these choices add up to a racing simulator that gives your experience more meaning, gives you more to actively think about and react to in a way that doesn't increase the overall load, but opens up visibility. As fun as LMU has been for me as a game, a simulator, an experience, it does still have some drawbacks. It's definitely a little bit harder on my system than iRacing is. I have a Ryzen 7 5800X with an RTX 3080 and I run races on medium settings. It can still be a little bit crunchy, but it does still look exceptionally good to me in many situations. Track selection is also rather limited at this point in time. The act of driving itself is a large part of what keeps the racing fresh because the rotation of tracks can feel repetitive, especially in LMU's Bronze Starter Series, but this is no doubt a problem that will shrink over time with the continued release of more tracks. And although LMU is the official WEC game, I really do hope that its scope in terms of car series does expand, because once it gets its hands on GT4 or Porsche Cup, then I think it really is going to claw more iRacers over to it. LMU's server underpinning has had a few public hiccups along the way, which I've only gleaned from their social media announcements, but none that have personally affected me. It's been pretty much solid. I probably haven't played it wall to wall enough for as long as I need to encounter any server wobbles, but I know that they've happened. I've had one instance of it crashing to the desktop out of nowhere. It's certainly all been far under the threshold of unforgiveness for me, so hopefully such creases become less likely over time and may never find me. I'm sure some clips do exist of some wild server wobbles though. Let me sum up my feelings of iRacing vs Le Mans Ultimate, as I always do with a silly analogy or metaphor. iRacing is like McDonald's. Fair bit of variety, but nothing's mind-blowing. Le Mans Ultimate is like Five Guys. Delicious, but specialised. LMU will be of little interest to you if you like NASCAR or Formula, it goes without saying. But GT and prototype racing is very popular amongst iRacers, including me. For that, LMU has become my preferred option and offers a far deeper, more convincing experience for that purpose. When I'm comparing two things, I like to think about what I miss about the other whilst driving them. When I'm in iRacing now, I miss LMU's textured and lively force feedback. I miss the greater sensory attack and fidelity of the audio. I miss how scrabbly and rubbery and reactive the tyres feel when pushing. I miss the complete confidence driving in close quarters. On the other hand, when I'm in LMU, I'm not really thinking about iRacing at all, and that's when I know this is a serious and legitimate alternative. If you're starting out in PC sim racing now, Le Mans Ultimate would be my recommendation due to it being easier to comprehend and navigate just to get into a race. It's a simpler system, not to mention the lower cost. If you're already entrenched in iRacing and your mainstay is GT and prototypes, you must not let LMU pass you by without a serious look. It's a more convincing place to race for that segment of sports cars, and I choose to spend my time there when racing them. iRacing and LMU both remain important for me because they remain important for you. Creating videos like this is my job, but if it wasn't, Le Mans Ultimate would now have me seriously contemplating setting iRacing aside. From a 16-year member, that is saying something, and I never thought I'd see the day when something comes up that actually looks like a proper successor, but here we are. It's your move, iRacing, but get going or it's going to be game over. And there we go. I hope my opinions made sense and shed some light on what I think. Let me know what you think, because how has either simulation had an impact on your time sim racing, and what are your thoughts? Anything that I missed that has been a big factor for you on either side, stick it in the comments. I'd love to hear it, and cheers again.